love rummaging through the clearance aisle. You never know what you're going to be able to find, and the lower the price, the better. Well, I found some amazing clearance items that we are going to elevate into some couture home decor. I went to Hobby Lobby the other day and I hit the clearance jackpot. There were so many amazing items that were on sale. So let me show you what I found. We're having crazy good clearance going on right now at Hobby Lobby. Look at these beautiful corbels. They are only $4.49 a piece. Still, look at these beautiful vases. They are only $7.99 a piece. Wow. Look at all these candlesticks. They're all between $6 and $7 a piece. Look at all of them. They are all on clearance. One of the pieces that I purchased was a football sign. I know that that's not very dynamic, but it's going to be perfect in our project. Now, the size of this football sign is fantastic. It was tall and slender, and it was on clearance for $4.49. Now, my Hobby Lobby and my Home Goods are in the same shopping center. So once I was done with my shopping at Hobby Lobby, I headed over to Home Goods to see if I could try my luck there. Check out this thin silver candlestick holder that I found. It's so pretty, it's heavy duty. Picking it up, you could use it as like some weights. That's how heavy it is. So it's really sturdy, it's really high quality. It started out at a price of $29.99. By the time I found it, it had been marked down several times, and it was only $7, you guys. What a bargain for this beautiful piece. Now we've got our football sign and our candlestick, so we have enough that we can start on our project. Now, as much as we love football in our house, in fact, you can always find us in front of the TV in the fall time watching college football. We love that as a family. But we are going to change the sign. We are going to paint over it. So I took my thin sign outside and I'm going to spray paint it in some white gloss Rust-Oleum spray paint. I sprayed the underside and the sides of the sign first. Once everything was well coated in the white spray paint, I let it dry for 1 hour. Then I came back, I flipped the sign over, and I sprayed the top. Let's say goodbye to football for now and hello to a white saturated board. I promise it'll all make sense in a little bit. Once everything was coated in the paint, I let the sign dry overnight. This sign is the foundation for our project. We are going to be adding pieces on top of it, so this is going to act as a base. Now, I don't want to do anything permanent, so one trick that I've done over the years is to get some blue painter's tape and put it over whatever piece that you're working with, and then you can add hot glue to the top. What I'm going to do is run a line of this blue painter's tape down the center of our sign. Then I'm going to get 4 floral foam rectangles. I'm going to be hot gluing these to our sign. So I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue to the blue painter's tape and then take my floral foam and press it to the hot glue. I simply continue to add the hot glue to the blue painter's tape, then press the floral foam rectangles into the hot glue. I did this with all 4 of my floral foam pieces. Now, I like to cover up the floral foam in my floral arrangements, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to get some moss and place it on the floral foam. I just grabbed big clumps, big handfuls, and spread it out over the floral foam. I'm using floral pins, which is going to hold the moss in place. I made sure the moss was on the front, the sides, and the back of the floral foam, and a little bit on top. Next, I grabbed my silver candlestick and placed it over the top of the floral foam. Now, this candlestick is heavy enough that I wasn't too concerned about it toppling over, but just as an extra measure of precaution, I'm going to add some floral pins to the top of the candlestick and then press them into the floral foam. Now I know that my candlestick is securely attached. Now that everything is in place, it's time to add the pretty part, which is the flowers. I have a whole bunch of white flowers. I've got some magnolia flowers, some roses, and some peonies. And all I'm going to do is just poke them into the floral foam. I added an abundance of flowers to the foam.
If the stems were too long on some, I bent the stem and then poked it into the floral foam. I added these beautiful flowers to the front, the sides, and the back of this centerpiece. I'm using white flowers, but you can use whatever color or type of flower you would like that fits in with your specific party or design style. Isn't this a beautiful and elegant centerpiece? If you had a long buffet or a long coffee table, you could add an arrangement like this or a centerpiece like that to those places. Or like me, you can put it in the center of your dining table. This arrangement is perfect for a long rectangular dining table because it is slender, but it's long. And I added these candles. There are so many candles. We've got 9 of them, which is fantastic because there's nothing better than dining with candles flickering in the background. It just adds a cozy ambiance and it elevates your dining experience. And because we use the blue painter's tape, this is not permanent. So I can take the tape and the hot glue off and I can use this candlestick on a different design in a different room, and I can use that sign again too. You would never guess that we used clearance items to create this stunning centerpiece. I definitely think that we took these clearance items and elevated them into couture home decor. It's hot outside. I live in Florida and it's hot outside. And even though we're inside for the majority of the time, we've got the air conditioning on, sometimes you just need an extra breeze to cool you down or cool your room down. I have this amazing pedestal poly fan from DREO. It came right to my door. I was able to unbox it so easily. All I needed to do was pull the pieces out of the box and attach the base. There was 1 screw and 1 washer, so it took me no time to put it together. This fan is state of the art. It has a remote, so you can turn it off and on. It has 9 different settings, so you can have the fan blow really high or really softly. It also oscillates. It oscillates from side to side. It oscillates up and down, and then you can actually do both, which is so cool. You can also control this fan from the stand itself. That's where all the little buttons are. You would never know that they are there because they are integrated so beautifully. It also has Wi-Fi voice control, so you can use Alexa or Google, and then it also has an app. So you can turn this fan on in so many different ways. You can get the right amount of airflow in your home at any time with a touch of the button or voice command. This fan has an immense reach across the room. I can be sitting here and feel it way across the room. With the DREO app, you can also set a timer on this fan. So you can be doing household chores or other activities and your fan will come on at a specific time. This fan will definitely help you stay cool this summer, whether it's for you or for that special someone in your life that tends to overheat a lot. This fan will solve that in no time. DREO is having a Father's Day sale right now where you can get up to $110 off, and that is good until June 16th. And then I also have a code to get you even more money off. It's Lisa10, and that's an additional $10 off. I will leave a link to this smart poly oscillating fan in my description box as well as the coupon code, so you can head on over to DREO and check out all of the amazing fans that they have. One of my favorite places to go shopping is at Anthropologie. Now, I don't purchase a lot of things there because it can get really expensive, but I love browsing. Now, my nearest Anthropologie is actually at Disney Springs. So it's so fun to go up and spend an evening walking around Disney Springs and then stop off at Anthropologie. Well, there is a little clearance section upstairs in my Anthropologie. There's a little clearance corner that I always like to browse through. Well, today I happened to find this stunning candle. I have not purchased an Anthropologie candle in the past because they are really pricey, but this one was on clearance and then it was 40% off the clearance price. So it ended up to be about $42. Now, $42 for a candle is still pretty expensive, but let me try and justify it for you. Okay, so here's our candle. Ooh, it's super heavy, but look at how beautiful all these details are along the edge of this container. It's ceramic, so it's really sturdy, and look at how large it is. It's got, what, 7 wicks? So this is gonna last me a very long time. And the final thing that's going to sway you that $42 is okay for this candle is this candle is scented in a violet and cypress scent. Now, my daughter, who's 10 years old, was with me, and her name is Violet. So when she saw this, that it was scented in violet and her name was right there, it had to come home with us. So for all those reasons, I can justify the cost of $42. Now, this candle is beautiful as is. I don't want to do anything to it. But one thing that this candle is missing is a lid. Now, I like my candles to have lids because I don't like them to get dusty or dirty, and the lid's protected from that. And then also, the lid keeps the scent inside the candle, so when you don't have a lid, it can linger throughout your house, which is okay to a certain degree, but at some point you just don't want that smell anymore. So we are going to create a lid for our candle. Now, we are going to do it in an unconventional kind of a way. It's not going to be a traditional lid, because when I was at Hobby Lobby getting all of my fantastic clearance finds, I went down the dish aisle and I found this pretty glass cloche. This cloche is not on sale, and it was not in the clearance aisle, but it was only $12.99, which I thought was a great deal. And this cloche fits right over the top of our candle. We are going to add a design to our cloche that mimics all of these beautiful design details on the container of our candle. So what I did was I created some designs on my Cricut design space, and then I had my Cricut maker cut them out on some removable vinyl. I weeded away the design itself because we are going to be creating a stencil. Now, before we go forward with creating this design, just know that you don't need to have a vinyl cutter in order to create a stencil. You can use stickers or you can buy a stencil, so don't feel like you need to go out and purchase a vinyl cutting machine to do this project. So once I had my stencil created, I added the transfer tape over the top, and then I placed this vinyl on the bottom portion of the cloche. I created several of these stencils. I put them around the circumference of the glass cloche. Once the bottom design was on, I moved on to the upper leaf design. Again, this design is similar to our container. I put the transfer tape over the vinyl, and then I placed all of these on the perimeter of the glass cloche. Once all of these upper stencils were in place, I needed to cover up the exposed areas, so I got some additional transfer tape and some leftover vinyl. Then I got some blue painter's tape and taped off the exposed area on the bottom of the cloche. Now that everything's in place, I'm going to get some Armor Etch and a paintbrush. I added this etching cream to the exposed areas on my stencil. I painted on a decent amount. You want to make sure that all of the exposed areas are covered in the etching cream. I'm also using plastic gloves on my hands because I want to make sure that they are protected while I'm doing this step. Once the upper leaves were covered in the etching cream, I moved on to the bottom design. Again, I added a liberal amount of the etching cream to the exposed areas. If you leave any of these areas bare, you won't get the etched effect. So make sure that everything is nicely covered. Once all the exposed leaf areas on the stencil were covered in the etching cream, I let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes. Here is a fun fact. I save my etching cream. I have had this bottle for years. So what you do is you just scrape that etching cream off of the surface and you put it back into your bottle, and you can use it over and over and over again. This is a great cost-saving measure, so you don't have to purchase etching cream over again. Now it's time to wash the etching cream off. I'm going to rinse it off in some lukewarm water, and again, I made sure that I had my gloves on so that my hands were protected. I wiped all the etching cream off with my gloved up hands You want to make sure that it is all rinsed off. You don't want to leave any on there. Once the etching cream has been rinsed off, I can now remove the vinyl. This is the fun part. This is where you get to reveal your design. So I just peeled away that removable vinyl, the blue painter's tape, and the transfer tape. If you don't have etching cream, you can use some frosted glass as a substitute. So these can be intermixed. You will get a similar effect with the frosted glass as you would with the etching cream. I like the etching cream better, but I've used this before and it works. So you can substitute those if you don't have etching cream. Okay, you guys, now our cloche is completely finished. Look at how pretty this is, you guys. You can see all of the design details that etching cream etched into the glass cloche. It's so pretty, and look at how well these two pieces coordinate together. Pretty good, right? So I'm going to put my candle on top of a marble round, and then I'm going to place the glass cloche over the top. These two pieces look like they were meant to go together. And what a fun, unique, and classy way to create a lid. Now, not only can I use this for my candle as a lid, I can also use it in so many other ways. Of course, you can use it for food purposes, but you can use it in a bunch of design ideas too. So this cloche is a very versatile item. Even though we paid a little bit more for this violet scented candle than we typically do, I'm glad we did. It's beautiful, it's unique, and the cloche takes it over the top. Our next clearance item was also found at Home Goods. It's these adorable heart wicker napkin rings. This package of 4 heart napkin rings was originally $12.99, but I purchased them for only $3. Now, as adorable as these napkin rings are, I'm going to change them. I don't love the wicker that's on there, and the heart is very specific. So I want to create something that's going to be able to be used throughout the entire year. So the first thing I'm going to do is get some scissors and cut away all of that wicker. I snipped the wicker and I pulled off the little pieces. Once I had finished removing the wicker on the first napkin ring, I repeated the process on the other 3 napkin rings. Now I have plain metal hearts with 0 embellishment on top, so we have a blank slate to work with. Because we are trying to keep costs at a minimum, I'm going to be using some items that I already had in my craft stash. Now, I purchased a package of 10 wooden flowers. I've used 6, but I had 4 left over, so we're going to use these. And then also I have some scrap pieces of scrapbook paper. Now, this paper is so pretty. It's got a gold sheen to it and some white flecks. It's classy, it's neutral, but it looks expensive. So what I'm going to do is take my flowers and put it over the scrapbook paper. I got a pencil and I traced around the flowers. Once I had traced around each of them, I grabbed some scissors and cut out these 4 scrapbook paper flowers. Next, I got some Mod Podge and a sponge brush, and I painted on a liberal amount of this Mod Podge to the surface of the wood flower. Then I got my scrapbook paper and placed it right over the top of the wood flower. Next, I got my kitchen scraper and pressed the paper firmly to the wood. Not only does the scraper adhere those 2 pieces together well, but it also gets out any air bubbles that may have been trapped underneath the paper. I repeated this process with all of my wood flowers and scrapbook flowers. Then I painted on a top layer of Mod Podge. I made sure the entire surface was completely coated in the Mod Podge. I painted on a decent amount of Mod Podge to the top of the scrapbook paper on all 4 of my flowers. Once everything was sufficiently covered in the Mod Podge, I let it dry for 1 hour. Now we're going to drill 2 holes into each of our flowers. Now we're going to make sure that the holes go in between the metal lines on the hearts. So I flipped my wood flowers over, I placed the heart napkin ring over the top, I got a pencil and marked out 2 holes on each of the wood flowers. Now, of course, we're going to be using the most fabulous drill, which is the Athena drill, to drill our holes. Now, what I like to do is I like to take whatever it is that I'm drilling and put it on top of a lid. I typically use a spray paint can lid. The reason why I do this is because it gives that drill a space to go into as you're drilling, but it also catches and contains all the wood shavings. I continue to drill 2 holes into each of my flowers. Now I'm going to glue the wood flower to the napkin ring. So I just got some hot glue and I added it to the wood flower, and then I took my napkin ring and placed it into the hot glue. I repeated this process on the remaining napkin rings. Now it's time to take advantage of the holes that we drilled into each of our flowers. What I'm going to do is get some ribbon. I have this gorgeous ribbon that's kind of transparent and it has some gold flecks in it, and I'm going to thread it through the holes on my wood flower. I pulled both sides of the ribbon through the holes, and then I tied it into a bow. Once the ribbon had been tied into a bow, I dovetailed the ends. Not only does this bow look so pretty, but it is actually another way to secure the wood flower heart to the napkin ring. So just in case the hot glue gets loose, the ribbon will hold everything together. I added a segment of ribbon to each of my napkin rings and then tied them into a bow. How stinking cute are these napkin rings? I am just in love with the way that they look. It's so much better than the heart, in my opinion. I love that these flowers and the color of these are neutral. You could use them all year long in so many different seasons and holidays. It's going to go great on my tablescape because this tablescape is a little more neutral. It coordinates so nicely. We took something that was marked down to $3, embellished it a little bit more, and now we have a one-of-a-kind napkin ring. Now I do only have 4, so what you can do on a tablescape is if you have more than 4 place settings is get 4 more of a different type of napkin ring, and you can alternate the place settings. That way it looks intentional. Let me show you how I dressed my dining table. I love starting off with a neutral backdrop, which in this case is a white tablecloth. Then I have a gold charger. This charger is so beautiful. I love the pretty design that's on it. And because we have some silver on our centerpiece, remember that candlestick was silver, I decided to use a plate that had a silver rim around it. And you can see that the silver coordinates with the gold. It doesn't always have to be one metallic shade. You can mix and match the two. And then in the center of my white plate, I have a glass plate. I've got my silverware on either side, and I've had some comments in the past that said that my silverware is on the wrong side. But what happens is sometimes when I'm filming, it gives you a mirror image. So I even looked it up, you guys. Silverware is on the right side, I promise you. So if it looks like it's not, we'll blame it on the camera. And then in the back, I've got some stemware. I have this pretty cup. You guys, I love this. I purchased these glasses at the Dollar Tree a couple years ago at Thanksgiving time. The green sheen on these glasses is so pretty and so unique. It coordinates with the leaves that are on the centerpiece. It's just so pretty. So I've got this, and then I also have this pretty cut glass goblet. The cut glass is a great juxtaposition to the more streamlined green goblet. And then of course we've got our bee monogrammed napkins and our pretty little napkin ring, and I'm going to place each napkin in the center of the plates. So in this room now we've got our clearance centerpiece, our clearance candle and cloche back there, and then our clearance napkin rings. But you would never know that these pieces were from the clearance aisle because this room and this tablescape looks so beautiful. It is dinner party ready. All we need is the food and the guests. It's amazing what you can do with clearance items. You just have to think outside the box and reimagine a few things. If you're on a budget, like the majority of us are, going down the clearance aisle can be your best friend because you can find some unique and one-of-a-kind pieces that just need a little bit of tweaking. Trust me, the clearance item can help you live beautifully, and it can do it on a budget. I hope you got some inspiration or some ideas today. If you like this video and want to see more like it, I would love to have you subscribe so I can share this with you. Thank you so much for watching.